Okay, so we're going to do chapter 7 now. So from the My Issue, we'll click on the title of the page. Remember that takes us to our Canvas page, and we're going to scroll down to chapter 7 and we'll load it. And while it's loading, this particular chapter is revolving around the idea of consumer and producer surplus. So as a reminder, consumer surplus is the difference between what a person's willing to pay, willing and able to pay, and what they will actually pay. So as an example, if I'm a buyer of a home and I offer somebody $100,000 for something I'm actually willing to pay $200,000 for, the consumer surplus would be the difference between what I would actually pay, which was $200,000, and what I end up paying. Let's say they accept the offer of $100,000. So the consumer surplus would be $100,000 to me. Producer surplus, on the other hand, is from the producer's point of view or firm's point of view. So that's the difference between what the firm is willing to accept for their product and what they actually receive. So if the firm is willing to accept $5 for a product, but they actually receive 10 for that product, then the producer's surplus to them would be the difference between what they actually got, which was 10, and what they would have sold it for, which was 5. So the producer's surplus would be $5. Okay, so let's go to question number 1. And on this, what you'll want to do is just make sure that you read, remember that problem set, so just read them carefully. So you're told Yvette buys an iPhone for $150 and gets a consumer surplus of $200. So what you want to remember there is the consumer surplus is the difference between what they would have paid and what she actually pays. So you're told she actually paid $150 for it, and then in addition she reaped this nice benefit of $200. So how much would she have actually been willing to pay? I think you'll be able to do that. And then this one says if she had bought the iPhone, so it starts playing around a little with the numbers. If she had bought the iPhone on sale for $100, her consumer surplus would have been what? So if now all she had to do was pay $100 versus $150, what would that have done to her surplus, this extra benefit she got? Again, I think you can do that. And then this one says if the price of the iPhone had been $370, okay, her consumer surplus would have been what? Don't be fooled by this. Go back to what she was willing to pay. So if this price is bigger than what she was willing to pay, then think about what that would mean about whether she would even be getting any consumer surplus. So we'll continue on to our next question. Okay, this particular question, you've got supply and demand, and it's saying, let's assume you have exceptionally good weather which results in a huge apple harvest. So this is bringing in this idea of determinant of supply. So if we have great weather, remember that's a supply determinant, so what is going to happen to our supply curve? So that's the first thing. So remember, you're going to left click and then you can move these around. So you'll move it the entire curve in the direction that you think it would go, and then it's going to ask you what's going to happen to the consumer surplus. So I think on these questions, honestly, I think you'll be able to do this, and we'll continue on. Let's see what the next one is. Okay, so this one says, it's the picture again, so you're going to use your left click your mouse and remember move whichever curve is going to be moving here. So this says suppose the demand for tomato juice falls. So that's a determinant of demand and it falls, so that's a decrease. So remember the rule, increases right, decreases left. So go ahead and make that change, and I really don't think you'll have any problems answering these. It's just really more the visual. And I think this is the last question that you would have. It is two parts. There's the equilibrium and the welfare effects, and I'm just going to suggest you give this one a try, and I believe you'll be okay with this. So we'll